Welcome to the Let's Talk Data podcast series presented by SAP.
Welcome to our Let's Talk Data podcast series. This series is brought to you by SAP experts discussing current topics around data and data management. My name is Ina, and I will be your host for today's podcast. Today's podcast is focused on helping you renovate your data landscape with cloud capabilities. Joining me today are Daniel Rothmund and Marius Reck from Geberit. Welcome. Thanks for your time today, guys. Why are enterprises even moving to the cloud? What are the strategic drivers? And what we've been hearing from our customers is, first of all, IT is tired of saying no all the time. And they want to be a strategic partner that is really helping the business in times of change and in times when they really need to innovate their business model. And so how are you going to do that? Number one, you want to reduce the amount of time spent maintaining your current systems, either patching and migrating up to new versions or just general maintenance. If you can reduce the amount of time you're spending there, then you have a little bit more time to participate in those new projects and to say yes more often to really prototyping new ideas with the business and being more of that strategic partner, which everyone wants. Another reason is hardware costs. If you have expensive on-premises hardware, number one, the cost of that when you first buy it can be high. And then secondly, as that hardware depreciates over time, and many times it's a 5-year buying cycle, in 5 years, then you have to buy new hardware. And that's another cost that goes against your bottom line. So they want to eliminate some of that expense on their own budget sheet, trying to maintain hardware, purchasing it, procuring it, all of the paperwork that goes with that, as well as maintaining then that hardware on their own on-premises system. The third reason that we hear is that in times of disruption, when new requirements come quickly, when your company is reinventing yourself, you need flexibility. Flexibility to be able to scale up the number of users using a solution, flexibility to be able to scale up the amount of compute or predictive and AI capabilities that you're putting in place to solve a problem. And because that can be very unexpected, you need that flexibility in both how to manage the cost to really explore something that might cost a lot of compute and users, and then maybe in a month you're not using that solution anymore, as well as how to manage the compute resources to address some of those problems. So that flexibility and the elasticity of the cost is another major reason. But those are all kind of methods for control. The fourth reason is people want to consume new innovations faster. With the cloud, where we can send out new features every 2 weeks or so, the new innovations are then available to you faster without you having to upgrade your systems, to migrate, to do that year-long process of figuring out, how this tool fits in your productive landscape, making sure that the other systems all interact with your version, making sure that that you're scheduling the downtime appropriately, and that someone can come in on the weekend and manage that system just so you can consume those new innovations. So in the cloud, we manage that for you, and the system you're connecting with is up to date and has new features coming to it all the time automatically. So those are some of the big reasons that we have heard. But my question to Daniel and Marius, does Geberit see cloud impacting your data landscape? And how?
Yes, we see that, especially we are using the cloud to be flexible for new use cases, and there we use the cloud services from different vendors to be flexible, because we are seeing that the world is changing a lot. And so we need the cloud services to be flexible for the future requirements of our customers. And this is our business. And to be flexible, we use the cloud services from SAP and from different other web vendors.
Especially, I think the flexibility of new innovations is much easier. You can quickly enable any cloud service from the providers, test it, try it out, and then decide before you have to purchase expensive hardware and install anything on premise, if it is useful or not, and then scale it up as you need it.
Excellent point, Marius. So that sort of prototyping piece, let me try this new innovation. Let's see if it works for us, if it will help solve our problem without having to purchase and bring in software and manage it. Can you guys talk a little bit about, where does cloud impact the rest of your landscape? Do you have a cloud-first strategy? Do you have a large on-premises investment already that you're trying to also leverage into the cloud, or are you starting with putting everything in the cloud from here on out? If you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have a huge on-premise investment. We have two main data centers at our two main locations currently, and a long history with, as well as SAP as other vendors for our main software tools. We would not say that we are a cloud-first strategy, but for sure, whenever there is a new requirement from the business or also from the IT to replace or to upgrade any existing solution, we will for sure evaluate and look what the cloud offers and if there are benefits. And besides that, we know that sometimes the cost is not really cheaper, but the flexibility of the cloud, and especially what you said, that you can faster have upgrades, patches, is a point that we do a lot in the cloud already, and will step by step migrate more of our existing software solutions or tools to the cloud.
To underline this a little bit, so we are at the moment typically the hybrid customer. This means we have a lot of footprint on premise, but we extend more and more our on-premise systems with cloud services to have their extension with new agile approaches for new system and services with this hybrid.
Excellent. So trying to leverage much of a large on-premises investment to drive a bit of flexibility with new solutions in the cloud. Yeah. Since we're going to talk about HANA Cloud, SAP HANA Cloud today. Can you talk a little bit about the use case that you guys are trying to address?
Yes. So the main reason why we were looking for adopting HANA Cloud was our Dynamics CRM system that we have with Microsoft. And here Microsoft is limiting the data bandwidth and the API connections end of this year. So as we do all the reporting currently via our SAP BW on-premise system, so we had to basically extract the CRM data to our on-premise BW system in order to do all the reporting there centrally. And with the limitation of Microsoft, we have here, end of the year, a little bit of bottleneck on getting all that data for the reporting. And in addition to that, our strategy for all the future reporting has been decided to do with SAP Analytics Cloud. So in the CRM Dynamics from Microsoft, it is Power BI, and we do not want to basically move forward with two different solutions. So here the clear strategy for us was to get all the data into a central solution where we can report easily with SAP Analytics Cloud. And here we found with HANA Cloud the possibility that on the one hand, extracting the data is very easily to connect to all those different databases like the Azure SQL service from Microsoft here. And in addition, we have then a single source also for the Analytics Cloud in order to report in the future.
I see.
And here you see the benefit which we saw, or which we see with the HANA Cloud is, as mentioned before, with this hybrid scenario, we are using the capabilities which we have on premises in our on-prem BW system, and extend this with the HANA Cloud to have more or less flexible interaction with new services which are running in the cloud, and integrate this service in our central landscape. So we're extending our on-premise system with cloud to get capabilities which we don't have at the moment.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit more about the agility? It seems like what started to drive you guys was some agreements with the other software systems that you were using, and when things were reaching end of life. Do you think that by using a solution like SAP HANA Cloud, that you will have a kind of a buffer or an in-between layer to insulate you from some of the change that happens in your other business applications? Is that the intent?
What we do currently is extract data from the other cloud provider to our on-premises system. And This is basically very difficult as there is a special middleware tool necessary currently. And for each of the different cloud providers, you usually need a special middleware tool here. And with the HANA Cloud, it seems like the connection to all those different tool providers is much easier. Also with the HANA Cloud, it doesn't matter what database is there behind. If it is on-prem, the hybrid one, or if it is cloud, you can easily connect and have that central solution then for everything.
And also here we not so focusing on this capabilities that we are storing data into the HANA Cloud. This is still possible and also a valid use case. But for this first pilot use case, we are using more the HANA for real-time connection. This means we're not loading data from database 1 to the HANA Cloud. We have the real-time access. This means you're doing a select on the HANA database and it will be directly online connecting to the target database like this Azure SQL service. And this is a good benefit here in our use case. We are not replicating the data. We have real-time access to the source of the data and get response directly from the source of the data and not any buffering between.
Oh, beautiful. So that real-time capability to not have to copy data around and wait for it sounds like a major benefit for your organization.
That's a huge benefit, yes.
Yeah, it's interesting how you guys talk about connecting instead of collecting data. We too have heard from companies that they have tried for decades to get one master instance of the data to collect it from every possible application and third party in their ecosystem and bring that all into one single store of the truth. And that it turns out that it takes a lot of effort, and that B, it is only really accurate for that 1 second where you just brought the data in, because the source systems change as well. So we see people moving to this idea of connecting to the data where it lies and merging it together and transforming it kind of in flight in that flexible, more fabric idea, instead of collecting data and migrating it all to one spot. It sounds like that was also part of the value and the hoped for situation for Geberit.
Absolutely. There is always the two scenarios. On the one hand, you want to somehow collect data in your central warehouse system, historically freeze it somehow that you could do historical evaluations year after year and compare it. But I think in the future, you more and more want to also look on actual data. And this is exactly what you just mentioned, that we can connect various data sources real time, not load the data and wait overnight, but have it exactly then when we want it, have the actual data, compare it, and even have predictive scenarios also to look into the future, probably on just actual data.
Very cool.
Also the possibilities that we have this real-time access as example directly to our CRM database, but we have also the possibility where we have on our prem BW system, we have historical data which we are collecting from our ERP systems. So we have one, and this we can now combine with the HANA Cloud. So we have the combination from the real-time data from the CRM database plus the historical data from our ERP system, which are collected to the BW system. And on top, we can build up the dashboard on SAC. So SAP Analytics Cloud. So this is a real benefit of it.
So Daniel, can you talk a little bit more about that last case? What kinds of things can your business do now with that combination of the historical on-premise data and real-time data together? Is it easy for them to imagine new things that they can do with this new access to fresh data? Or is it a bit of a culture shift? Or just talk a little bit about the benefit of the business for that scenario.
I think it's a little bit also from culture shift, because in the past it was more we are focusing on the historical data, but as more and more we meet faster data insights, so more and more requirement is there to have real-time data. So we need on the one hand side, we need the real-time data, and this is a requirement which we not fulfill At the moment, is our on-premise scenario directly, so we need the HANA Cloud to fulfill this real-time access. But on the other side, we need also the historical data which we have in our BW system. So it's a little bit a culture shift. A lot of guys need the real-time access to see immediately the impact of the changes in the processes in the reporting scenario, but the old stuff we need also.
Yeah, and there's scenarios that we have not sought in the past, and maybe our business also has not sought because it was simply not possible. And now, if we look into our marketing department, for example, and they are doing some marketing campaigns, and usually immediately want to react, and I mean here immediately they launch a campaign, and within the next minutes or hours they want to see what happens in social media, how is the effect on it. And if we can here really real time connect some of those online channels, social media and so on, and then compare it with past campaigns that they launched years ago or months ago or whatever, and have those effects immediately, can react totally different than they did in the past.
Marius, that's a beautiful example of using years and years of historical data that might be colder data and stored in a data lake or something like that with a very real-time what's happening this minute data, as well as then perhaps adding some prediction and predictive analytics and machine learning to help adjust how you're responding to the customer or the prospect in front of you. Are you guys using SAP Cloud Platform?
Yes, we are using the SAP Cloud Platform.
Oh, okay, very good. Yeah, I just wanted to let people know that if you are using SAP Cloud Platform and have an enterprise agreement, you can already see SAP HANA Cloud in your cockpit in Cloud Platform. So it's a very easy way to get started and try some of these things that Marius and Daniel have been talking about. If you have existing credits left on your Cloud Platform Enterprise Agreement, you can start there very quickly and easily. And there are videos on the SAP HANA Academy that can show you exactly how to do that. I also wanted to just highlight, we're talking a lot about SAP HANA Cloud today. And the beauty of SAP HANA Cloud is that it's really extending SAP HANA into a solution that's really optimized for the cloud with a cloud native architecture. This way you can add capacity as it is required, and we're using the in-memory capabilities combined with some of the Sybase technology that we have to really work at that big scale. And just a note for those of you who haven't been playing along, SAP HANA is celebrating its 10-year birthday this year. So it was officially launched in 2010. Been many highlights along the way, including Guinness World Records being set for the largest database. That was in 2014. In 2015, we launched Innovation Awards to recognize the kind of innovations people were trying to deliver on HANA. And I love what you guys are talking about at Geberit here, of trying to really move your business forward by consuming some of those new innovations like predictive and machine learning to try to satisfy new requirements. That's exactly what that program was built for in 2015. So if you want to see even more what people are doing to bring in new innovations to their company, check out the Innovation Awards. There's a site that shows all of the pitch decks for people who have won those and talks about the solutions that they were able to employ. And then just another quick highlight, in 2018, we became the first major database optimized for Intel Optane persistent memory. So this gives us a huge benefit in managing the downtime of your systems, so to reduce that drastically. So those were just some highlights of what has happened so far with HANA turning 10 years old, and you can check out the whole history of that if you follow the hashtag SAP HANA turns 10. But the point is that we're using all of those innovations that have been built into HANA over the last 10 years and using those same innovations into then SAP HANA Cloud, except we're doing this in a very cloud native way. So just making sure you guys had that context. So Daniel and Marius, you guys have talked a little bit about how HANA Cloud will interact with your warehouses and analytics in the short term. Can you talk a little bit about long-term vision? And do you see the addition of having a cloud database like SAP HANA Cloud in the mix changing your vision over time?
Yes, HANA Cloud for us is just a start. If we look into the history of our company, all the tools were on premise. And then when it started with all the reporting and the analytics, we for sure wanted to have everything in one central data warehouse. And that is what we have established over the past. So now step by step, moving different applications to the cloud, some very large, but also some very small. And the more and more small or microservices that appear in the cloud, you also want to have somehow the reporting there. So not loading all that into a central system, but real-time consumption and live connections, as we mentioned it already, is exactly what we will have with HANA then as a single source here. And so more and more services will be built on top of HANA, as we hear from SAP. There will be the data warehouse cloud and also the SAP Analytics Cloud built on the HANA platform. So our vision for sure is then to use that somehow as a central place where we can collect, where we can join data, and where we can then use it for all other tools and purposes as well.
That is fantastic. So it sounds like you're really trying to simplify your landscape as well by removing all of the steps of data moving everywhere, and by converging perhaps on solution like HANA Cloud instead of having so many different solutions to handle movement of the data and so many different custom built services. Is that right?
Yes, I think so. We have a long history also together with SAP, and we was also one of the first customers which are using SAP HANA for 10 years ago. And so we have a big history. This means we need a step-by-step approach to coming from on-premise and going to the cloud. And for that, one step is the HANA Cloud.
Excellent, excellent. So we've talked a lot about simplifying your landscape and connecting instead of collecting in real time. Are there any other new business requirements that you see that you'll be able to fulfill?
In one of the requirements I talked a little bit or touched earlier is exactly those social media data. And we had a request last year to somehow collect to all our channels like Twitter, like YouTube, or our web pages, Google Analytics, and so on, to kind of track a little bit all that. And we did not really find an easy and good way to get all that data into our central data warehouse, and then be able to easily report on that or do some analytics. And then we started a little bit evaluating the open connectors from SAP in the cloud platform, but that was also not too easy to bring all that data down there. And now, as we see the combination of the open connectors, how it connects with the HANA Cloud, it seems like really very straightforward and easy to connect also those applications. So we haven't tried that out, but at least it seems like, and with the experience we got from the other connections, it seems like that it can be easily used, and that's the good way forward in order to be able to also have a solution for that request then.
Very nice. So I love this point, because sometimes we hear people think that HANA is only for SAP applications and only for SAP data. But you've already talked about working with your Microsoft CRM system. It sounds like it's a major requirement for as well to be open to non-SAP data and non-SAP applications, and sort of bring that, connect to all of those sources and applications together with your SAP data. Can you talk a little bit about that? The breadth of the systems you have to connect to?
Yes, we have one central reporting strategy. This means we have not only a SAP system, but we have a lot of different systems like this Microsoft CRM database. And so there is the requirement the business is not looking for a solution which we get only reporting data from for SAP system. They are looking for a solution to getting the data from different other databases. And for that, we need a solution to collecting all the data from different databases and have one central report where you can see the data of all those databases. And so it's a real requirement because the business not care about this is a Microsoft system or is SAP or something else. So they would have the data in one report and see exactly what is the current status.
Perfect. Daniel, anything to add to that, Marius, for other types of systems, especially non-SAP systems that you would need to connect to?
Yes, I think from a reporting perspective, the more data you get and the easier you get to it, the more possibilities you will have, the more flexibility you will have in the future also to analyze and to dig into that data. And in the past, it was always good to have as much software solutions and tools from one central supplier like SAP, because it was connected, it was straightforward, and usually it was out of one box. Also with the cloud strategy from SAP, with having a lot of different tools, also a lot of acquisitions, it is not always so easy to have exactly the same database. And I think this is already within SAP now a challenge that HANA Cloud solves, but also then from other databases or even unstructured data in all those cloud applications that we are not aware of today that might help us in the future is something there. So I think there is so much possibilities that we do not yet even know what data we could connect with the new HANA Cloud.
That is beautifully said, Marius. We see more lines of business and business applications spring up that maybe centralized IT does not even know about. And then there will very quickly be a requirement to connect to a system that centralized IT is not managing and is not necessarily aware of. So you need a flexible, open connection system. Yeah, very cool. And then one of the other things we talk a lot about is enterprise grade and security. And so can you guys talk a little bit about what your requirements are in terms of enterprise grade and speed of solution? Do you have reports that require sub-second response time? Is it more requirements for the amount of data that you want to connect to?
I think one of the main points is always for us, because when we use it, we will really use it. This means with the stability of the service. And this is the main requirement for every service which we are using, is that we have a high stability and of the service, that we can use it every time directly without any outages, directly the service usage. I think the stability is one of the main points which are our requirements, but it's sure that also the requirements are security and compliance and all the stuff. But the first one is stability of the service. I think this is the main point.
Excellent. Daniel, anything to add to that, Marius?
I think from a security perspective, a lot of people are still afraid of moving to the cloud and then having their data, their enterprise data in the cloud, and is it secure there? And my opinion here is always, I mean, if the people that are really responsible, a lot of security experts that do HANA Cloud and all that, I think I sometimes trust more that they know how to secure my data in the cloud there than if I have one or two people responsible for the on-premise data systems or the firewalls in our enterprise. So I'm not really concerned about that, but for sure, whenever we have our data stored in the cloud and then open up the access now with smartphones, with tablets, and outside of the business, people want to really get any day, any time their smartphone and have up-to-date data. There is a complete different scenario, and we need to make sure that all that is protected is secured. But as Daniel said, I think the main point here is the speed and the availability.
Excellent, excellent. So can I ask you your experience then with SAP HANA Cloud? What has that been like so far? What has surprised you? What are you excited about trying next?
We are surprised that the HANA Cloud, even that it is totally new or brand new almost, I would say, that the experience we got in those past weeks from a stability perspective, it's really, really a good product already. We almost had no issues there on stability, on performance or anything like that. So we are really, really looking forward here. So one thing that we started 2 years or almost 2 years ago was the SAP Analytics Cloud that is currently running on a separate instance on HANA. And we are really looking forward when that completely goes now into that new technology of the new HANA Cloud. Everything will be more and more moving together as well.
Excellent. And Daniel, anything what about what has surprised you, or what do you want to try next?
I think what me surprised was that, for example, we have started with the SQL database on Azure Cloud for the CRM use case. And then we tried out and find out it's really easy to connect to a database. And so the next step was also in this pilot phase, we have started to connect a different database on premise. And this took only some minutes. And then the database was connected and we are getting the data directly from the database. So this was a little bit surprising because it's really, really fast to connect to a database when you have the complete landscape up and running. So then it's really, really fast to connect and getting data from other databases directly in the HANA Cloud.
Very good. So it sounds like you guys are consuming a lot of the fun new stuff with HANA Cloud and are really starting to see some options for the future. I love that.
And I think one thing to add here that really surprised me, and that was the best thing I think during that whole program, when we tried to get some data from our cloud CRM system to our on-premise system a year ago. We spent days, we spent weeks, and we could not really get a stable and easy connection to get that data. And it was very complex on how to basically translate the data from the different formats that they could be then stored in our on-premise BW system. And now with HANA Cloud, Daniel had a great idea to just simply connect our on-premise system to the HANA Cloud and get the data from the CRM system live. And this was basically set up within a couple of hours, and so easy and so streamlined that I wished really we had that opportunity a year before.
And now you're helping other people who are in that situation and don't know what is possible. So all of you listening out there, learn from what Daniel and Marius have done. Also, I wanted to ask you guys about Intel Optane persistent memory. It sounds like you have recently adopted Intel Optane persistent memory for HANA.
I was a pilot for Intel Optane for HANA. And in the meanwhile, because we have done the pilot with special hardware from Intel, and there we see the possibility what the Intel Optane brings us in related to the memory size. And therefore, we have decided then that our central BW system have migrated to our persistent memory. So this means in the meantime, we have 3 systems up and running. So the complete BW system landscape is up and running with persistent memory. And it's also really stable. And we have the benefit of it that we have bigger size of memory. So the memory is much more higher than before because of the new technology. And the stability is high. And so it was the right decision for our scenario to migrate or to switch from the traditional memory to the persistent memory. And the HANA system works quite well with this persistent memory.
Excellent. Thank you, Daniel. So any closing thoughts that will help listeners start their own journey to the cloud?
One thing that you mentioned was the CPEA, so the Cloud Platform Enterprise Agreement. And I think this is one of the things that all companies can help to get very easily, just by adding some credits, into the cloud solutions of SAP. Then you can flexible book a service like now the HANA Cloud with a minimum requirements here, and use it a little bit, try it out, get some experience for your use case. And whenever you see it does not fit, you can just stop basically the booking of it and add another service as you want. And for us, when we decided last year to use the CPA, we have now really started to find out a few of those services, try them out whenever we have some time, and we can just stop and use another one if it does not fit for our purpose.
Thanks, Daniel. Well, I just thank you so much, Marius and Daniel, for your time today. I'm sure you are super busy, and I really appreciate your time really instructing our listeners on what you can do by adopting a cloud database and SAP HANA Cloud, how that is helping you address new business requirements. The top takeaway I learned today was really that you're trying to connect both on-premises and cloud sources together, and with historical data and real-time data together, and to merge all of that data together with some predictive or other transformation capabilities on top of that to serve your business requirements is really a powerful business requirement that you guys are helping to satisfy with SAP HANA Cloud. Listeners, if you want to learn more, you can always head to sap.com/HANA Cloud. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Let's Talk Data podcast. Thank you, everybody.